I'm the head of this household. My decisions are final. If you refuse to follow my rules, divorce is the only option. Even though my husband was having an affair, he still tried to exert control over me. Why should I continue to follow his demands? If that's how he feels, then let's get a divorce. Transferred all our loans into his name, so he would understand the extent of my contribution to our life together. My name is Belle. At 36 years old, I work as a systems engineer. I've been married to Derek for 6 years. We met through work when my company subcontracted tasks to his firm. During my temporary assignment at his company, Derek was always kind and supportive. As we spent more time together outside of work, our relationship grew, leading to his proposal, which I gladly accepted. When I got married, I left my engineering job at the company. The role was incredibly demanding, both physically and mentally, and the pay wasn't great. I worried that continuing in such a stressful job would leave me with little time for my husband, which could strain our relationship. So I decided to transition to freelancing, which offered the flexibility to manage household responsibilities and spend more time with him. Initially, freelancing didn't bring in much income, but with my engineering background, I gradually attracted more clients and saw my earnings improve. I was pleasantly surprised by how quickly my income grew and felt grateful to my husband for supporting us during those early, lean months. I dedicated myself to managing the household, even though cooking wasn't my strong suit. I used recipe books to try new dishes every day, hoping to bring a smile to my husband's face. Thanks for taking care of the cooking and cleaning. It really makes a difference. My husband's praise for my housework brought me joy. In the early days of our marriage, we respected each other and enjoyed a happy life together. After a few years, he suddenly suggested, "Don't you think it's time for us to get a new house?" A new house? I was taken aback. This wasn't like him, as he rarely saved money. Shouldn't we save up a bit more first? What are you talking about? I've been earning a good income, haven't I? Yes, but haven't we avoided any financial issues since we got married? I'm able to manage thanks to my income. I thought but couldn't bring myself to say it to my husband. While he gave me money for household expenses, he tended to spend his own allowance before payday. I made sure to save as much as I could from my earnings and contribute it to our budget. This way, we avoided financial issues. I appreciated being able to live comfortably with his initial support when we first married, so I never mentioned that my income had grown. I didn't want to undermine his self-esteem by revealing that my work-from-home job was bringing in a significant amount. Even if I felt I was spending too much, our lifestyle remained stable, suggesting that my income had likely increased. Perhaps he wasn't fully aware of his own financial situation. I was taken aback by his suggestion, but he seemed eager to build a new home, and I couldn't stop him. "What kind of house are you envisioning?" I'd asked, trying to figure out how to meet his wishes within a budget. However, his list of conditions kept growing. But if we want to include all these features, won't the house end up being quite expensive? It's no big deal. This is a once-in-a-lifetime purchase, and my income should cover it, right? My husband's confidence puzzled me, and in that moment I regretted not sharing the details of my income with him. I decided it was time to set things straight. Derek, when it comes to household expenses, I contribute a significant portion of my income as well. For some reason, he didn't believe me. "Please, don't be so dismissive." "I'm not lying, but I'd prefer if we bought a more affordable house," I explained. However, he dismissed my concerns and ended up using his salary to take out a loan for a house that stretched our finances. Initially, I thought we were managing our money well, but over the years, his spending habits became increasingly extravagant. He started splurging on designer clothes, watches, and frequent nights out with his colleagues. Despite working overtime to compensate, his reckless spending became hard to ignore. Eventually, he decided to build a new house, and despite the financial strain, he made it happen. "Wow, this house is incredible. It really feels like a mark of success, doesn't it? My husband's excitement was understandable. The new house was indeed impressive, spacious, beautiful, and comfortable. My workroom had expanded, allowing me to fit a large desk and work more efficiently. The improved workspace had boosted my productivity, which I truly appreciated. However, the monthly mortgage payments were a constant source of stress. My husband didn't seem to grasp the full impact of our long-term loan. Though the house was in his name, his tendency to overspend meant his account was perpetually empty. Consequently, I had to transfer my income to cover the mortgage. Frustration was growing, and eventually, I decided it was time to have a serious conversation with him about it. Don't you think you've been spending too much lately? We need to consider things like the mortgage for the house, I said, hoping to address our financial concerns. My husband frowned and responded defensively, "What are you talking about? We've been managing fine since we bought the house. If we were in trouble, it would be obvious. You're just fixating on minor details. And maybe if you managed your own money better, you wouldn't be so stressed." That's not my issue. Wait a minute. I'm always thinking about how to cut costs on daily expenses, he added, trying to deflect. I'm using the money you give me along with my earnings to cover the mortgage and other expenses. So please stop talking to me like that. What's going on with you? Also, don't act like you're doing a lot when your contributions aren't substantial. The one who earns the most isn't necessarily the greatest. I'm the one managing our finances, so I'm the one making things work. Please keep your opinions to yourself. My husband's dismissive response left me stunned. He had been kind and considerate when we first married, but things had changed drastically. Our relationship had become strained, we barely spoke and sometimes didn't even greet each other. He was working more overtime than ever, often coming home late at night. I wondered if it was worth continuing our marriage in this state. We were merely cohabiting without meaningful communication. If things stayed this way, divorce might be the better option. However, I wanted to reconcile if possible. After much thought, I decided to take the first step and reach out to him. My resolve was instantly shattered by an unexpected discovery. While I was out in town buying a birthday gift for a friend, I spotted my husband, who should have been at work, walking with a young woman I didn't recognize. They were strolling together casually, and the sight was enough to confirm my worst fears: an affair. Determined to uncover the truth, I hired a private investigator. 3 weeks later, I visited the detective agency to hear the results. The investigation confirmed my suspicions. My husband was indeed having an affair. The woman was a colleague of his, and their relationship had been ongoing for about 2 years. I finally understood why my husband had been spending recklessly and coming home late due to overtime over the past 2 years. He was having an affair. The anger I felt towards him, especially after the verbal abuse he had directed at me, was overwhelming. It felt humiliating to have tried to protect his self-esteem and our marriage when he was the one betraying me. Determined to act, I set aside any remaining doubts and resolved to confront him. I hurried home, finding him lounging on the sofa, engrossed in a sports program. I positioned myself between him and the TV and spread out the evidence of his affair before him. "Explain this." He looked momentarily stunned at the photo evidence but quickly adopted a defiant attitude. "Oh, that's Meg. She's my new wife." "New wife?" I asked, bewildered. "Now that you know the truth, there's no reason to keep you around. Unfortunately, you're no longer needed." "What are you talking about?" "To be honest, I don't see a place for you in my life anymore. But Meg doesn't want to handle the household chores, so you can stay and take care of that for her." "What? Are you out of your mind?" "I would never agree to that." My husband's face flushed with anger. "I'm the breadwinner in this household, so my decisions are final. If you can't follow my orders, then we'll get a divorce." Despite his affair, he still tried to exert control over me. Why should I have to listen to him? "Fine, let's get a divorce." "Huh. First of all, you had an affair, so we can't continue our marriage. Let's just get a divorce." My husband was taken aback but eventually agreed. "All right, but don't come to me later with any regrets." I want a divorce, but you'll need to help me transfer the names on the utility bills and the car loans we just took out. I quickly shifted all the loans into his name and finalized the divorce. He probably thought it was over, but for me, it was just the beginning. You should understand how much I supported your lifestyle. The day after the divorce was finalized, I was comfortably settled into my new apartment when I started receiving numerous calls from my ex-husband. Since he hadn't paid any compensation yet, I hadn't blocked his number. When I answered, he sounded flustered and insisted we meet. I reluctantly agreed to a cafe meeting, only to find that he brought his mistress along. Wow, you two look quite cozy together. What's going on? Why didn't you tell me about this? Every month, I'm seeing significant deductions for loans. And why are the food expenses, car loans, utilities, and everything else so high? What's the point of shifting all of this onto me? I divorced you and left the house, so it's only fair. I don't have any other motives. Shut up. This is fraud. I'm going to sue. My ex-husband and his mistress exchanged glances, their arms linked as they glared at me. They tried to blame me for everything, but I wasn't about to accept such absurd accusations. It's your fault for not understanding the situation correctly. I provided you with various documents, didn't I? Since the loan for the house was originally in your name, it's only fair that you cover those expenses. I've been transferring the necessary funds into your account. How could you manage such large payments with your limited income? As an ex-husband who clearly struggles with comprehension, I've explained this before. I work as a freelance engineer, and my annual income is currently around $200,000. Does that clarify things for you? My ex-husband was taken aback to learn that I was earning significantly more than he was. But his surprise was irrelevant at this point. What mattered now was that I had yet to claim my rightful compensation, and I intended to pursue it through a lawyer. Are you trying to extort money from us? I'm simply exercising my legal rights. I'll also be filing claims against your mistress. But as a result, I received compensation from both of them for the emotional distress they had caused me. The woman my ex-husband was involved with was devastated to find out he hadn't been using his own money to cover the loan. The next day, she vanished from his life. Their affair, like many others, ended when the financial support dried up. My ex-husband now leads a solitary life, struggling to manage his loan payments and make ends meet while shuttling between work and home. He's getting exactly what he deserves, but he couldn't come to terms with it and started gossiping about his affair at the office. His mistress accused him of abuse, leading to a messy public dispute. As a result, both their reputations were tarnished and no one took their claims seriously. His financial difficulties only deepened and his work performance suffered due to the stress of his mounting debts. Ultimately, he faced a demotion and a pay cut. It's a consequence of his own making, and honestly, he brought it on himself. Initially, moving into my new high-rise apartment made me nervous, but now I've settled in and am able to fully enjoy my life here. While I'm not currently interested in marriage or romance, that doesn't mean I want to be alone forever. If I do meet someone in the future, I hope we can build a supportive and mutually fulfilling relationship, drawing on the lessons I've learned from my past experiences. For now, I'm focused on working hard and making the most of this time for myself.